Peace and love, everybody. Salute. Salute, everyone. I wanted to circle back on this particular topic because, of course, it is always ever present on my mind and will continue to be until it materializes. And also because there seems to be this non-extinguishable perspective that I just see wrapped around all of the landscape, or a quite significant portion of the boxing landscape as far as percepts and ideas concerning these particular men and this particular fight between them. It's very interesting to me, and I felt it was worthy of some analysis, some further discussion for us to build upon, because if I am noticing it, then I am sure that my real ones are noticing it as well and have been noticing it as well. And what kind of set this off for me was a quick run-in that I had today with Najee of Cigar Talk on Twitter. And it wasn't too long of a dialogue, but it was significant enough that, it caught my attention. I tapped in. He tapped in as well. And we exchanged for a quick second, and it brought up the topic of today's discussion. Now, I understand the concept of letting a fight build. I'm a boxing fan. I'm an enthusiast and have been for quite some time. I definitely get the understanding surrounding, such a concept, such a theory, right? You want to let a fight marinate, so to speak. Completely fine with that, completely understand that. But where my analysis is coming into play is, when is the line drawn? When is it too much? When can it be considered not enough duration, a long enough duration of marinating? When is marinating over fucking cooking the thing? Okay? I'm aware that attached to this will be all sorts of views because, of course, it is 1,000% subjective, and to each will be definitely his own in the situation as far as how one would choose to tackle the subject, or from what angle one would view the subject. And so it'll vary greatly. But certainly, there is a median, okay? There is a middle ground that we can all collectively say a point can be reached where something is being overdone, or it's being done without a sense of purpose. It's lacking purpose, and it's causing a misdirection in the entire scope of things. So that's what I kind of want to look into today. Now, there is a prevailing notion, there is a prevailing theme apparently going around in the boxing world concerning Shakur Stevenson and Tank Davis and the materialization of this fight, the concretizing of this fight. Seems to be at a very problematic point in the boxing world for whatever reason. And there is so much mystification happening surrounding this fight and the possibility of making it happen. And I really don't quite understand what the problem is, you guys. And I'm sure many of you are asking the same thing. What is going on? Okay, because instead of words of action, I'm hearing enigmatic words, cryptic words like, well, let the fight marinate. And though, as I stated, I don't have an issue with such a concept when applicable, what I do have an issue with, and what I definitely take issue with, is, how such jargon can be used to stall a fight, okay, to be used as a sort of alibi to distance fans from the fight's materialization or the possibility of that materialization. I find that to be problematic. And I think that is what is at hand probably not completely at hand, but it's definitely taking effect within the scope of the Shakur Stevenson and Tank Davis fight more than it needs to be. And I don't know whose protection it's to the benefit of in this situation, because it definitely seems to be some type of benefit had by the parties themselves in the distancing of the language surrounding this fight. It's very odd to me. And what it leaves me asking is, pretty much, why is there a constant need to sequester or pigeonhole, to partition significant fights away from the reach of fans? Why is there a need to distance the fans' engagement away from the major center of movement, away from the core of what we demand of our fighters? Why is there this stalling, this need, this tug and pull, or really just a push away from the demand for fights to happen that make the most sense? It's weird. It's like the boxing world does not want to adhere to an order of a natural succession of fights to happen based on a natural alignment and positioning of the elite. And this natural succession is definitely being disregarded right now in what we see within the Tank Davis and Shakur Stevenson situation. Boxing fans are calling for the fight between Tank and Core, not because it is a mindless option, but because it is the only option within the 135-pound damn division. Lomachenko is out by his own admission, okay? The man wants no smoke. He wants no part of Tank Davis right now. He said he's not in the mood. He's going to take the rest of the goddamn year off, okay? What other king is there at 135 for Tank Davis besides damn Shakur Stevenson? There is none, okay? Tank already fought Frank Martin. Shakur Stevenson is the only man worthy now that Loma excused himself from the damn building. What is the holdup? Why isn't a fire being set at 135 right now? Shout out to the King Drew Titan, who said something earlier today that I totally agreed with. And that was that Shakur should be nonstop calling out Tank Davis and making it plain that Tank is ducking him if he really wants that smoke. There is no reason why he should not be lighting 135 up to hell, knocking on every door, asking for Tank Davis's head right now. The fuck is going on? Where is the seasoning on this bitch? It's looking plain as hell out here. Flat and dry? I'm talking about marinate this fight, marinate that fight, and no seasoning is on deck. No sauce. 135 is looking hella crazy to me, you guys. And you know what? Zepeda is not a legacy fight for Shakur Stevenson. I don't give a fuck what none of y'all say. Please get that shit out of my face. I don't want to hear such an imposition anymore. Trying to assign some type of importance to that fight is ridiculous to me. Is it a good fight? Yes. But it is a non-imperative. It's a non-imperative. Okay? Why have we not heard of an offer being sent from Tank Davis in all this time, you guys? It's been how many weeks now since we found out that Lomachenko wanted no mas? Why don't we hear talks about an offer? Why don't we hear talks about some type of possibility, some rumblings of something? Where are the discussions at between Tank and Core? Now, on Twitter earlier today, I came across a post, and I replied to a post from Najee of Cigar Talk. And in his post, he said, quote, "I know everyone wants the Tank versus Core next. And I do too. But the business of boxing says that the fight generates more money down the line, more than right now. I doubt that it happens next." And now I find so many different variables at work here that seem to be problematic to me. And it isn't necessarily on his position that, he doubts that it happens next, per se. That's not the issue. And he's also admitted that it's a fight that he wants to see next. But what I find to be problematic is the acceptance. That this whole excuse of the business of boxing, takes precedence over the demands of the paying customers, which is us, the fans, the supporters, the ones who show up. It does not take precedence over that because we dictate what it is that we want. And if we, the fans, apply enough pressure, as we have been known to do in various cases and all throughout boxing, then when we get the fights made, when we show the backing for it. And that's not to excuse all the politics and the things that go on behind the scenes and all the things that contribute to, the fight's formulation and all of that. But our presence, our stance, is also a major and prominent factor in the materialization of these fights. So to take a passive seat and just, attribute all of its possibility to, quote unquote, the business of boxing is folly to me. I don't like that. And I think that it's inciting us to take a back seat to applying that pressure and demanding that the fight be made. These platforms have a very large reach and a large scale with the people who turn in to listen to what it is they have to say, to get their news, to collect their data and their information and base their opinions on it. That's what the fans do when they reach out to these types of platforms and when they're in touch and in connection with these boxing heads or these people who are industry figures or sought to have, meaningful connections with fighters themselves. And so they listen to that type of language and they take it in and they assume it for themselves. And I think you have to be very careful about these types of words. As a boxing fan, that's just me. I'm very forefront. I don't like the passive position in anything. So, my boxing is no different. I want to see the fights that I want to see. And I don't see a reason to unnecessarily stall a fight from its materialization just because of whatever political reasons are going on at the time. That is, of course, not to say that I am for rushing a fight, because that's definitely not the case at all. But I am for being opportune. I am definitely for opportunity. And it's prime time right now. Both of these men are free. 135 is basically lackluster. Okay, it's quiet. There are freaking, dust bunnies flying every goddamn where from the non-activity. Let's get the fight made. These are the two best in the division. And the third best wants no smoke. So, what's really being done here? What is really being waited upon here? 135. So, in response to Najee's post, I said, quote, down the line, do they have to age out? Sheesh. Okay, that was my response to Najee. And he responded back by saying another 2 to 3 fights. Now, to me, the logic behind that is more detrimental than it is serving. Real talk. The very language of it is not helpful. It is hindering to me. There is already virtually no communication whatever between Tank and Core. There is no trash talk. There is no energy, no posturing before each other, no passion being exhibited between them, no exchange between them on any level, y'all. Y'all see it? You think adding another 2 to 3 fights between each of them is going to magically build more of an interest when there isn't even a match being lit between them now? The fight fans, it is us who are the ones bringing the gasoline to this fight. We are beating the drums. It's us who is standing with the war paint on our faces. These two motherfuckers are sipping jasmine tea. What is going on? What I also found alarming about his statement, and what I also looked very sideways at his statement about, is the fact that he did not take into consideration that as of late, Tank has only been fighting once a year, you guys. So him mentioning, the fight with Core and Tank, taking place after 2 to 3 fights, is him essentially positing that we need to wait another 2 to 3 fucking years to get that fight. And I'm like, bro. Nah. That's wild to me. 2 to 3 years for Tank and Core? We are not talking about some damn prospects, building up to, the sense of hype or building up to some sense of establishment of themselves. We are talking about 2 standing kings of the division. Okay? No. The collision course needs to happen sooner than later. Sooner than later. And the reality is that there are all types of people out here using the business of boxing, quote unquote, business of boxing, as an alibi, as I said earlier, an out to duck smoke. Okay? I see a lot of that going on. The quote unquote business of boxing being used to divert attention away from the anticipation of a fight happening. I do not like that. I don't back it whatsoever, that particular mindset that does that. Not that Najee is, but just the mindset in general. It is within his language and it is permeating throughout all types of people's perceptions throughout the boxing world. There is no fight, no other fight of any significance for or to the boxing world for the 135 division that is larger in scale and scope and relevance than that of the fight between Tank Davis and Shakur Stevenson. Why are y'all talking to me as if Tank has the leisure to fight anybody else? Are you going to tell me Ryo is of significance for Tank? Or perhaps Pitbull, since people like throwing that name out in front of me when it comes to Tank Davis. Pitbull Cruz in a rematch has a legacy attached to it for Tank Davis? I think fucking not. Also, Pitbull is at 140, so what are we even talking about with that? You tell me who is more worthy of fighting Tank Davis. Because the reality is that outside of Lomachenko, who, deducted himself completely from the conversation and from view, anything outside of Shakur Stevenson is obsolete, null and void, archaic, demode, and pointless. Absolutely pointless, and every boxing enthusiast knows it. Moreover, what's crazy is that the WBC ordered the fight, of course, between Core and Zepeda, to which it seems to me that all, of course, sensibilities and tendencies are leaning fully into this fight with all types of acceptance, all types of malleability. Okay? He seems pliable when Zepeda's name is brought up. He has no issue saying Zepeda's name on social media. Okay? Why is it that we have to pull teeth just to get these men to reckon with each other? Why is it this difficult, you guys? If I got to pull teeth just to get you to, stand on some business and call out your own app, ain't shit marinating here. This is straight up and down avoidance. 1000%. What the fuck is marinating but fear and distance between these two men? It's crazy. Instead of the 2 kings of 135 being on a collision course towards each other, they are passing each other every step of the way with every bit of intention to disengage, to avert interaction, to obviate all probability of contact. We have to call it for what it is, okay? This behavior from the fighters and the mindset of the boxing pundits and fans alike, all of that is not allowing for the marination or permeation of anything but cowardice and avoidance. It's just creating more and more excuses, okay? It's allowing for a hailstorm of excuses among all levels of boxing fans, okay, that are too eagerly willing to corset notions that, it's somehow okay to keep these competitors from colliding and sharpening iron with other elite fighters. Absolutely unacceptable to me. Soon enough, the whole boxing world is going to be replete with a whole bunch of goddamn Canelos. People running around with the mindset of Canelo. Okay, everybody left and right, shamelessly ducking fighters and being protected by this type of sham that, they made enough money so they can do what they want. Or, he fought such and such 10 years ago and that was a good win. So, his resume is good for now. He don't need no more. But get the fuck out my face with this shit. Okay? What these fighters need to marinate on is how to grow up here. Motherfuckers are too comfortable, too cowardly. Okay? And these so-called fans are too anxious to save their fighters from showing and proving because they only want to pedestalize these fighters as some type of comic book hero or something, some cartoon character, as I reference time and time again. They don't want them to be real-time men, real-time warriors who are not exempt from walking through fire just because they are popular. They don't want that reality. They want to crystallize their vision of them by assuming that if they, keep them away from these fights, it'll preserve their image in their minds of these fighters who they call their faves. I don't spoil my fighters like that. If I call you my fave, if you one of my hitters, my gunners, you got to work for me. No time off, no vacation. You got to steadily show me why you are passionate, because it'll steadily remind me why I'm passionate about you. It's reciprocal with me. I add fire to fire. I'm not trying to sit you down or calm you down. I'm trying to ignite you. I'm trying to stand on business with you. That's the type of fight fan that I am. I want to see you do great things. I want to see you defy the odds, If Muhammad Ali had to do it, if Ray Robinson had to do it, if Ray Leonard had to do it, if Whitaker had to do it, Jones, Holyfield, Mayweather, Cotto, Duran, any of the greats that you want to name had to do it, so the fuck do you. You're not exempt. 135, real talk for me, you guys, is now officially the worst division in boxing. Loma duck Tank, Tank duck Core, and Core really has on his running shoes now. All three of these motherfuckers need to be the spokespeople and the poster boys for Nike and Adidas and every other goddamn athletic shoe there is out there to name. Anyway, that's it for me, you guys. I'm on to the next. Peace.